Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Self Chats. I'm your host, Kat, and thanks for tuning in. Can you guys believe that there is less than 2 months of this entire year? Like, where did the year go? Like, that's so crazy to me. But all I gotta say is what a year it has been. Like, I would have never imagined that my life would turn out like this, but here we are. And the year's not even over yet, but it's been a ride. I'm still in expectation in what is about to come, and I'm looking forward and looking ahead to, the future and all the expected miracles that I'm expecting. You know what I mean? But a couple episodes ago, I had recently told everyone that was listening, that had tuned in, that I was about to go back and visit my family. Unfortunately, the circumstances wasn't what I wanted it to be. I had to go back home to visit my family because my grandma had passed away, so we had to attend her funeral. And it honestly, it wasn't really easy for me, being that she was the last grandparent left that I had, and she's no longer with me and my family. And she was really the glue that held us together. This lady raised me and all my cousins and my brother, and she was the one that instilled in me what it is and who I am, like everything I needed to know about being Lao and my culture. So the fact that that foundation is no longer there, I hope that we can continue to live on the traditions that she had instilled in us. And so it's hard to believe that, you know, she's not going to be there when I go home and visit, that she's not going to be at her house. And I'm still trying to like process everything, but I know that she couldn't be with us forever. So life been lifing, but God be Godding. You know what I mean? Okay. All right. But as I was home, I was able to like observe the situation and how everybody in my family grieves differently. How some are being strong, some keep, some people are keeping busy so they don't have to think about it. But I realized that we have to be mindful and sensitive to how others mourn, especially if it looks different from how you process things, because they're still mourning. It just doesn't look like the way that you would do it, and you just have to be, I guess, compassionate and understanding that, they're going through it. But when I was home, I had to help my family get ready for the funeral. And the way that the Lao culture does things is so extravagant. When what happens is once my grandma passed away, they have people come over. I guess it's like a wake, but people would be coming over to her house. Our family would be cooking for the guest. And so she passed away on a Tuesday, and the funeral wasn't until the following Tuesday. So every day up until the funeral, we were basically hosting guests and hosting people, cooking every day. And it was like a lot to deal with. And then the day of the funeral, it's so the Buddhist culture, I can't talk. The Buddhist culture, they believe in reincarnation. So the way that they do their funeral, honestly, y'all, it was pretty traumatizing. And I know I've been through the process like twice already. This is like my third time, but it's just so like it's like, okay, this is what happens. So basically after the funeral, so the men have to become monks for a day. So they have to like shave their heads and wear the robe and everything. And the women in the family have to become nuns, so they have to wear all white. After the funeral, what they do is we take her casket and we walk it down to where they cremate the body. So it's like a robe, and then they like follow, like the whole family follows the casket, I believe, or the family goes first. I think we went first. So my dad was in front. He was holding a picture of my grandma, and then everyone followed him after. And then behind us was the casket, and then everybody that attended the funeral. Um, we say our last goodbyes, which it's a lot. It's a lot, but After that, I think the oldest person has to press the button. Okay, so they like take the casket, they put it into the stove, the cremation thing, and then they close it. Yeah, traumatizing. And then the oldest person has to press the button so that she can be cremated. And it was my dad. And I just, bro, it was, yeah, it was a lot. It's really unique how our funerals are compared to, I guess, the American funeral. But yeah, so that's what happens during a funeral for a loved one. So some places, like I think in Australia, because we have relatives in Australia, theirs is a little bit more, I think, better. Like they don't host every day. They go to like a hotel, they have hors d'oeuvres, and then people leave. And then when they go to the funeral, when they do the cremation, they have like a curtain that covers the casket, and then that's it. We don't have to go through that traumatizing thing. So I hope that we'll be able to kind of change that, because that's a bit much. But yeah, but like I said, everyone in the family just deals with death differently. There's some people who stay busy, there's some people who kind of break away, and there's people who just want to be alone. But we just have to be mindful of the way that we treat other people. And if they it's not always about it's not always about you, I guess. It's about how they do things. For me personally, it didn't really hit me until the viewing of the body. But yeah, it was a lot. Life be lifing, and people deal with stuff they don't talk about, whether it be death, whether it be depression, whether it be guilt, pain, stress. There's just so many things that people deal with, but they don't talk about. And I just think that, in today's world, we have to kind of be mindful of what people are going through. And it's not always about you, it's about trying to understand that person, and always be nice to people, because you never know what they're going through, you know? We got to be mindful of their feelings and their circumstances. You know, one thing I know for sure, one thing I know for sure is that people don't wake up and say, oh, well, I feel like being depressed today. Let me just be a bee and mope around the house. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to feel that way. And when I say mindful, I'm also talking about the way that you talk to people, or how you deliver what you're going to say. Your words may be a knife and you may not know it. You know what I mean? And like, your situation or your relationship with certain people may not be the same relationship that people that have. Like, you might be close with your dad. Like, I'm close with my dad, but some people don't have relationships with their dad. You know what I mean? So you don't want to like kind of like poke them where it hurts. They didn't ask to have a relationship with their parents to be like strife or tension, or they don't get along. Nobody asked for those things. So just be mindful of what you say to people, because this is such a dark place. This world is dark. People are going through things. And if you can be a light, you'll, trust me, you'll make someone's day, because they're probably going through it, and you never know. You can make someone's day. So just be mindful of what you say to them, or just lift them up. Be a light. Also, if you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all. You know what I mean? And if you notice someone who hasn't really been acting like themselves, just hit them up, and see how they're doing, and let them know that you're there for him. There's people out there who are stubborn, like myself, who are not going to reach out if they're emo, and you probably have to like probe them a little bit. And honestly, they're probably really going to appreciate it, because they're going to sense that you care about them and their feelings, and overall their life. But we don't know what people are going through. We don't know how people mourn. We don't know what they deal with. behind closed doors. And if we could just be nice to people and kind of have their perspective, a lofty perspective of everyone, I think that it will make the world a better place. I know it will, because you're making someone's day instead of just kind of beating them when they're down. But for the people that are going through a tough time, like I currently am with grieving my grandmother, I've learned through the process there's some things that we can do to kind of get ourselves out of that funk. You know what I mean? So there's some things and there's some ways, some days you just don't feel like it and you just want to lay in bed and go to sleep, and that's totally fine, but don't stay there. You know what I mean? Take time to process your thoughts and feelings. And another thing that you could do is like, I know you're tired of being tired, but do something that makes you feel happy. Um, One thing that I like to do is I like to go to Target, or I like to go to Starbucks and just get a drink, or walk around Target and just window shop or something. You know, I also recommend talking to someone that you trust, someone that you feel safe with, because having it all bottled in inside, it's not healthy. And like one day you're probably going to have it, you're going to just explode, and you don't want to explode on the wrong person, or you don't want to explode at all. But just talk to someone you can trust. Maybe if you don't have anyone, I would try therapy, which is something that I think is very helpful, because it's like a third party person, um, helping you walk out life and helping you see from an outside person looking in, things that you can kind of work on. And one thing, I think it was an actor that said this, but he was saying is like, what he was saying is like, a therapist is like a coach. So, you know, they give you tips. They're looking from the outside in, and when you're in the ring, when you're battling life, but when you're outside, they're there to give you tips and like what moves you can make to like win the battle of life. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. He said it more eloquently, but y'all get the point. You know what I'm saying? But one thing that I will say is get around people. Connection brings healing or good vibes. So don't isolate yourself. I know it's easier to like isolate yourself. I do that. So I got to take my own advice. But when I'm around people, I feel better. I'm not thinking about my problems. Get around people who make you feel lighter, who make you feel good about yourself, or will do things that will help you take your mind off things that are kind of like stressing you out. You know what I mean? I know, like, I don't know about my audience, but what I know for myself is I do not like to exercise, and maybe some of you do, but exercise can be anything. Like, you could dance, you could take a walk, you could do some cardio, but just do something active, because it produces happy hormones and it'll get your blood flowing, and also it'll get your mind off of things. Like when you're running that mile, you're not thinking about your depressed situation. You're thinking about, I got to get through this mile, or I just got to make it to like this one song or something, So that's something that will definitely help, and it produces happy hormones. But yeah, I think just some of those things will help. And another thing is like, you may not see it, but try not to sabotage or self-harm yourself. You know what I mean? And what I mean by that is find a healthy outlet. Everyone is trying to find answers when they're going through a tough time. You know what I mean? And they will try anything to relieve the pain that they're going through. So be mindful of what you get yourself into, because it could become a bad addiction. Think about like when you get sad, like think about the last time you were sad or you were stressed. What was it? What was the first thing that you went to? And if it's substance, if it's people, relationships, kind of evaluate the pros and cons of it and see if it's going to actually help you or hurt you. I had to think about that during this process, and I was like, I go to God, but, and then I realized I go to food, And I make exceptions for my bad eating habits, because I'm like, if I'm sad, I know that food will make me happy. And sometimes that's fine, but not every day. Going to eat out at like five-star hotels. I'm not five-star hotels, five-star restaurants or something. But I think mine was food, and I it used to be shopping, but it's not. But it's food, so I have to cut back on that. But yeah, just be mindful of what you get yourself into. Make sure it's a healthy outlet. When I was younger, it was being active in sports, or singing, or acting. It was just one of those things that I would go to just to release my stress, or just when I was sad. Yeah, so be nice to people, be nice to strangers. You don't know what they're going through. Some of them are mean, but they're mean probably for a reason. But just say something that will uplift them. Be different. Um, and you know what I mean? And if someone does something to offend you, they're not doing it on purpose, unless they're really evil. But they're probably not doing it on purpose. It's just how we took it. There's some things that we deal with. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all not perfect. So we deal with things, and we get offended easily when it comes to things that we haven't dealt with. And I could say that for myself, because I'm really sensitive, and sometimes I get offended when they didn't mean it. But so I have to like take myself out the equation and just think about, okay, did this person really do this intentionally to hurt my feelings, or is this who they are? Or think of it, oh, why did they do that? Oh, it's probably this, like, kind of examine the situation before you draw to conclusions. And if it's a negative thought, make sure you have facts. Make sure you have facts to back it up. But yeah, moral of the story, I wanted to talk about how we can treat others um, who may be going through a tough time, and we may not be knowing it. To just be nice to people, and that everyone deals with things differently. But if you really love the person, and you care about them, show up for them the way that you think you think they would appreciate it, or show up the way that you think would help them. Show up in the way that you think would help them overcome what they're going through. Don't add fuel to the fire, but be a solution. And I'm so grateful, you that I was able to be around family during this time. It was good to be with family and just kind of go through it together. And then when I came back to Atlanta, I had a group of friends that you guys had seen on the previous episodes. That they're my people who will always, they were there for me. And I had other friends too. Like, some of my friends brought me things, took me out just to get my mind off of things. So I really appreciate my community, because um, without them, I'd probably be in bed emo. But with that, as we come to a close, um, be the light. And this world will throw all types of stuff at you. But you got to keep pushing, and you got to keep thriving, and you just got to keep looking forward, because when you do that, you're going to overcome those obstacles and those trials and tribulations. You're going to overcome things that may be distractions, but just keep pushing through. And what helps for me is I stay prayed up every day, and I journal, and you know, what works for me is Jesus. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to push religion on anyone, or relationship, but like, he works. Try him. Tell me how it goes. And like, I will tell you that when I was going through the process of mourning over my grandma, when I got there, like, I felt peace, and I didn't know where it was coming from, because everyone was sad, and like, I was sad, but I wasn't like letting it overtake me. And I was like, oh, I have this peace because I spend time with God and Jesus. And so that's what works for me. I would say give it a try and let me know what you think, you know. But with that said, you can tell me how you think by first subscribing to the YouTube channel or our page, and follow us on Instagram at Self Chats Incorporated. If you want to give me some feedback or anything like that, or let me know how your process has been while you grieve, you can email me at selfchatswithcat@gmail.com, and I would love to hear from you and read your testimonials, or see what you do to keep going through tough times. But yes, once again, thank you for tuning in to Self Chats. Until next time, bye guys.